All right, welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I'm going to be doing my review for the 2025 Miami ePrix. Interesting race, a lot of Peloton racing, as I would expect, given the layout of the track, and a pretty controversial finish. We'll get to that finish in due time, obviously. But it was Norman Nato starting on pole position, his first ever pole position in Formula E, so good for him, with Jake Dennis in P2. A bit of a surprise performance from Dennis in qualifying, given that for the last year or so, one lap pace has definitely been a real struggle for the Andretti team. So, start of the race, Nato keeps the lead going into turn one, and DaCosta, good start from him. He was up into P2 by the second corner. Lap two, Nick DeVries takes the lead. He started fifth in this race, so again, moving good progress up the field from him. And this is where I wrote Peloton racing, because basically you could tell right away drivers weren't really being too fussed about what position they were really in. And you could just kind of tell from the way that they're driving around track, not particularly fast, taking it very, very easy and making sure that they would have enough energy for the end of the race. So lap five, your top five in the ePrix were DeVries, Nato, DaCosta, Frines, and Buemi. So basically roughly the same drivers who were near the front, with the exception of Dennis, who did drop down the order a little bit at that point. Lap 7, they showed the energy for the first time. And the leaders were all very, very close, around 79%. Lap 9, Robin Frines overtakes DeVries for P3 at turn 1, so good move for him there, moving up into the podium positions. And then the Sister and Vision of Buemi overtook going into the, I believe, turn 10 chicane. I'm not sure the exact number, but it was obviously the chicane on the back straight. Then next lap, lap 10, Jean-Eric Vergne does a bit of rallying, goes on the grass. Just looked like he completely missed his braking point going into the fast left-hander. Just missed basically missed the apex of the corner, went to the inside of the corner, and then just kind of went straight onto the grass. So you can see here, basically he took the very long way around to make his way back onto the track. Lap 10, Van Doorn, the first driver to go for attack mode, and as you'd expect, he basically moved up quite a few positions. I think he was running 4th, 5th at that point by the end of his attack mode. But at that same lap, lap 10, Nato still in the lead, takes the lead back, with DaCosta second, Buemi third, Frines fourth, and Taylor Barnard in fifth. Lap 11, a bit of wheel banging between the McLaren of Bird and the Andretti of Dennis going into that chicane. Again, no harm done here. Both drivers got through cleanly, but this chicane would definitely be a talking point a bit later in the race. Lap 12, Gunther very, very wide going into turn 10, makes contact with the Andretti, but again, that would not be what the issue with the chicane was. Lap 14, Beckman retires in the pits. Looks like it was some kind of suspension damage for him, so unfortunate for him. Hasn't been a great start to the season for him, but I don't think he's been terrible. I think he's just been pretty unlucky, and again, the Kiro is a pretty bad car. Of course, running last year's Porsche powertrain, so definitely not the most efficient powertrain in the field. Nico Muller takes the lead, benefited from attack mode, so again comes from all the way from the back almost to the front with thanks to attack mode. Lap 15, DaCosta takes the lead. Mortara, Nato, Muller, DeVries are the rest of your top five with about 11 laps to go. DaCosta takes attack mode, which then leads his teammate Verline to go into the lead, and DaCosta basically takes the position back right away, I believe, at that point. Lap 17, Degrassi in a surprise podium position. Really good race from him after a surprise result in qualifying, so great job by him. Then we have our first safety car of the race, as Nick DeVries was stopped at turn 3. And this was a weird one because basically it looked like some kind of mechanical issue, some kind of software issue. He basically just pulled off the track, stopped, and then a couple minutes later he was able to get going. A bit of an odd choice to decide to deploy the safety car here instead of just a full course yellow. Usually the race directors will try to give the cars, a minute or two to see if they can get the car going, as a full course yellow can be basically activated, deactivated much more quickly than a safety car, which of course, you have to get the safety car out, and then you have to do a whole lap, and then the safety car, of course, has to come back into the pit. So Again, a bit surprised, but new race direction. Basically, this was Scott Elkins's final ePrix ever. He, of course, has basically been the race director for Formula E for a decade. He's basically, I guess, retiring. So, again, new race control. So, again, they will have a different approach to how they want to do things. So that was kind of just one instance of where I think safety car definitely was not necessary. And the safety car came back in the lap after. DaCosta Verline told to hold positions on the restart, but DaCosta 3.5% more energy than Verline, so looking like he was in a much better position for the end of the ePrix. Lap 20, DaCosta takes attack mode, but retakes lead at that point. So yeah, it was the other way around before, but yeah, DaCosta takes his final attack mode and then retakes lead. Again, a bit of team play there between the two Porsches. Then this is where the big turning point was. So at this point, you have seven laps left in the race. About half the field has already taken their final attack mode. The other half has not. And we get a fairly hefty crash at the turn 10 chicane. Basically, you can see here, Buemi, Gunther, and Hughes all kind of trying to go into spot where, you know, there's not really enough space for three cars, and as they say, 3 into 1 generally doesn't go. And you can see there's a bit of contact between Gunther and Hughes, and that kind of Hughes basically going very, very wide, trying to take a wide line in to overtake or perhaps hold position, and basically Gunther's front wing basically catches the rear of Hughes's car, and that kind of basically kicks the rear out, and he loses control and goes into the wall. And of course, just because it's so narrow, not a whole lot of space. So afterwards, basically Gunther ends up mounting the back of Hughes's car, so you can see Gunther's front wing is basically in the air, and then Evans kind of went into the back of the two of them. And so three cars basically piled up there. Gunther and Evans were able to continue. Hughes was out on the spot. And so they had basically race control at this point had to decide what they were going to do. If they had basically decided to just have the safety car out, run for 2 to 3 laps, half the field would not have been able to either take attack mode and then complete the race, or they can basically try to call a red flag and hope that, you know, cars are able to do it. And so that's basically what ended up happening. It was basically one way or the other. It was going to basically really screw over the people who had not taken their final attack mode. And we'll see what the end result was, but they basically brought the safety car out, realized that this was a big problem, and decided that they were going to red flag the race instead. So we have a red flag, even though this was a crash that didn't really require it, but I think it was really to try to make sure that, you know, if you had attack mode, if you had only 2 minutes left, you weren't like hurt too badly. And you'll see with some of the drivers who had 4 or even 6 minutes left, again, not a great result for them at the end of the day. So we have a red flag. We get going. Standing start. Most of the grid takes attack mode right away. DaCosta keeps his lead, and Mortara splits the Porsches actually at that point. So yeah, DaCosta keeps his lead, and then right away, everyone who needed to take attack mode takes that. And basically that allows Verline to take the lead going into turn 6, as he was one of the ones who needed attack mode, but I believe he only had a couple minutes left, so that's why he would not run into the issues that some of the other drivers would end up facing. So basically all the cars who have used attack mode already falling down the order, those who are in attack mode, of course, rocketing up the order. Final lap, really odd. Nato overtakes Fines for P2 at turn 1. Then Nato putting Verline under pressure. And so you can see here at the checkered flag, Nato takes a checkered flag. You know, looks like a photo finish, if you will. Looks very, very close. And coming on the radio, basically no one's particularly happy. Nato's not happy. The Nissan engineers aren't happy. Porsche are kind of just like whatever. And so you're not really sure what on earth was going on. But it turns out basically about 5 or 6 drivers, I would say, basically were still in attack mode when they crossed the finish line. And because that's, you know, against the regulations, you have to complete both of your attack modes by the checkered flag. All those drivers were given 10-second penalties. So your final result for the 2025 Miami ePrix, Pascal Wehrlein takes the win for Porsche with Lucas Di Grassi second and Antonio Felix da Costa rounding out the podium. So for Di Grassi, who finished basically 6 on the road. He moves up 4 spots due to those penalties. So again, good result for him. Bit of a strange one, but nonetheless, that's kind of the way Formula E sometimes, for better or for worse. 4th Muller, 5th Mortara, 6th Nato, 7th Ticknum, 8th Fines, 9th Dennis, 10th Roland, 11th De Vries, 12th Baron, 13th Buemi, 14th Van Dorn, 15th Cassie, 16th Evans, 17th Gunther, 18th Bird, 19th Maloney, 20th Barnard, and your 2 DNFs were Beckman and Hughes. Taking a look at your championship standings, Roland stays in the lead of the championship, 69 points, but his lead at the top is definitely cut down quite a bit. DaCosta in second now with 54 points. So actually, the points lead only cut down by I think 3 points compared, because Barnard was P2 before, but nonetheless still quite a few cars that are closer than him than before this race. Third, Verline, the other Porsche, 51 points. Fourth, Barnard on 51. Fifth, Gunther on 37. Sixth, Hughes on 27. Seventh, Dennis on 27 as well, who's also tied with Mortara in 8th. Ninth is Vern with 26. 10th, Evans on 25. Still has not gotten a single point since his win in the season opening race. 11th, De Vries on 24, 11th, 12th, deGrassi on 18, 13th Van Dorn on 16, 14th Bird on 16 as well, followed by Muller in 15th on 14. 16th is Dan Ticktum, 12 points for him, followed by Nato in 17th with 11, and Cassidy in 18th. Pretty terrible start to the season for Jaguar, down in 18th with 10th, and then of course Evans in 10th, and Cassidy in 18th. And then your 2 Envisions, Buemi in 19th on 6 points, and then Fines in 20th on 4. So you have 3 Jaguar powered cars in the bottom 5, not great for them. And your final 2 yet to get off the mark are your 2 rookies, Zane Maloney with 21 points, and David Beckman, Zane Maloney with no points, and then David Beckman 22nd with no points as well. So again, just final comments on the race. I think the Peloton style racing, again, not my cup of tea really. I prefer the ones where, racing overtakes for position generally means something, and drivers aren't basically just coasting around, going back and forth, trying to preserve energy for the final 5 to 10 laps of the race. In terms of what happened with the safety car and the attack mode, I think it's one of those things I think they should probably adjust the rules to make it so that it's a bit less black and white. In terms of, you must absolutely, finish with 0, must use all of your attack mode. I think something like, for example, in Formula 1, when you have weather, if you use intermediates, if it's declared a wet race, you don't need to change for tires, right? So if there's a safety car, some kind of incident in the final, 5-10 laps or whatever, then, for example, there should perhaps be a regulation where it's okay that you still have a bit of time remaining on your attack mode, just because you don't want this to, for example, affect a title fight. Like, for example, if this was the final race of the season, and this race, affected the championship, I think there would be a whole lot more, anger and upset about this kind of result. Luckily for them, it's kind of in the middle of the season, so we don't really know how this will affect the championship. But again, I think it's one of those things that I think Formula E should be cautious of going forwards. We know that given how, draconian Formula E's rules are with, particularly with technical infringements, I do think it is something that has the potential to turn fans off if it feels like there's too many arbitrary penalties being given out and things are a bit too strict, and there's not really the flexibility like in F1, like I mentioned, where if it's declared a wet race, you don't have to change tire compound. So those kinds of things I think are things where I think perhaps they should look at, revising for the future. But again, you can't obviously do it in the moment. So that's kind of the result that we got for this race. So there you go. There's my review for the 2025 Formula E Miami ePrix. First race in 2 and a bit months. Luckily, the next race in Monaco is not quite so far away. I believe it's 3 weeks from now. So again, that should be a pretty good one, and race I'm definitely looking forward to. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.